You're listening to Homeschool Unrefined. I'm Maren.
And I'm Angela. Let's encourage each other, laugh, and get real about homeschool.
Welcome to the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. You've got episode 41, where we stage an intervention.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial if you go to audibletrial.com/homeschoolunrefined. So you could just go to Audible and get a free book, and we love Audible. We've talked about Audible several times. So, Maren, what are you guys loving on Audible right now?
Well, I downloaded 2 books with my credits this month. I used them for myself,
Yep.
which
that's good.
That's legit. I got of Mess and Moxie, which you suggested.
Yep.
By Jen Hatmaker, and I'm loving it. I'm listening to that. I'm just laughing a lot.
Yep.
And I actually really like her. I actually like it best when she talks about like real life struggles, or I don't know, just real life things that she's going through, that she's just very encouraging. So I'm loving that.
Right.
And then the other book that I haven't started listening to yet, but I did download it on Audible, it's a book called Self-Reg. And it's about helping your children self-regulate. So I'm super excited to listen to that.
You'll have to let me know how that is on Audible. Did you listen to a sample, or you just...
I did not, no.
Okay. I'm just curious, because those are the kind of books I like to listen to lots of different kinds, but I love to listen to nonfiction. Yeah. Because sometimes those are hard for me to read.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because with this kind of book, I like to listen to it sometimes first. I like to listen to on Audible. And then I sometimes like to get a real copy so I can refer back to it. It's a lot easier to find things and just, read a section here and there. So I'm going to listen to the whole thing first. So I'm very excited. How about you?
Yeah. Well, my kids, I'm going to talk about my kids' books. They are really into The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place. It's a series. Written by Maryrose Wood.
Good. Did you read any of those first together, or did you just go...
I read the first one aloud this summer. It took me all summer. Not because it's a long book, just because...
You had a busy summer.
We had a lot going on. I mean, we started in June, and we finished, end of August. Yeah. We did it very sporadically. But it was really good. My kids really got into it, especially once we moved, and then, we kind of sailed through the end, and they loved it. And so there's 4 more books in the series, and I told them I wasn't going to read those. If they wanted them, they had to listen on Audible. Yeah. So they're all listening to all of them.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. I think that's a very good tactic to use for using your Audible points.
Yes.
And so what I like to do there is read the first book in the series. Because that gets kids hooked. It totally gets them hooked. And then let them go with the rest.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, and I feel like we're getting a good value because I have 3 kids, and they're all listening.
I know.
And then they're all excitedly talking to each other, because it's sort of a mystery. The whole series is a mystery.
Yes.
And so they're like, are you to this part yet? Or do you know who this character really is yet? Or
that's awesome.
Like that. So
that's so great. And they're bonding over that.
They're bonding over
awesome.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So we wanted to thank people who reach out to us. We have had, a good handful or several people in the past few weeks who have either in our Facebook group mentioned us or sent us messages of encouragement, and we love that so much.
It really does fuel us, I think. Because, I mean, we love doing this, but it's not really for us. So it's so good to know. So good to know that people are also loving it and learning and feeling encouraged.
And we know that our message is, it's a little bit different than maybe what other messages you're hearing from other homeschoolers. And so the fact that it resonates with some people is just so encouraging. So thank you to anybody who has reached out to us. And if you are a listener and you haven't said anything, we would love to hear from you.
We really would. We really would.
I texted Maren the other night, and I was like, I just want to be friends with all these people.
I know.
Because in real life, I want to be friends.
I do too. That's why we have the group, the closed group. And I think if you haven't joined the closed group, do. And then I think we should start talking more in there. Not about us. We don't need to hear all the encouragement in there, but I think we should all encourage each other in that group. It's called Unrefined Homeschoolers.
On Facebook.
And so we can have more chats in there. But I was also going to say, if you have a friend who also you think would be encouraged by this podcast, please tell them about us. Because we would just love to grow this community and have a strong group. So, and we would just appreciate that so much.
Yes. So, Maren, you are on a trip right now.
We are. Yes.
We are podcasting from your Airbnb.
Yep, exactly. In Austin, Texas.
So tell us what's going on.
So my husband Sean he works for Keller Williams Real Estate.
Yeah. And
their headquarters is in Austin, and so he was actually planning to be here for a week of training for I don't even know what it was for, but it was some kind of realtor training. And because of Hurricane Harvey, and so many people who were affected even came to Austin for help and relief, they decided to change this week into a relief effort. So Sean has actually spent 2 or 3 days down in Houston. Actually, they've been driving down to Houston with the other agents. And we've been looking for things to do also. Since we're here too, we were going to be here all week anyway. And we thought we might as well go see what we can do to help. Help out. So we are, went to this place where they just needed basically donations. But it was so great to just see. We went and we picked up all the supplies that they asked for. What we bought was supplies to help people clean their homes.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And then we went and dropped all that stuff off. And then my kids saw all the other stuff that was there. Yeah. Like, I mean, everything. And I asked the workers, what else do you need? And they just said, just think. Anything that someone might need, like, right now. Right. If they've lost everything.
Right.
So anyway, then we went back to Target and bought a whole bunch more stuff.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Because my kids were still just, you could tell they wanted to do more. So we also got some fidget spinners for kids.
Oh yeah, that's important.
My kids thought that was important. So.
And then I saw, did you guys write notes? You had the kids write notes?
We did, yeah, and they encouraged that. I was reading all this list of supplies, and at the end of the supplies they said, also, could you just write a note? And I thought, oh, what a great idea. It was a great opportunity for us. So yeah,
that sounds great. Yeah. Are you doing other fun things too in Austin?
We're doing a lot of fun things. We're in this great part of the city. I am just in love with it. It's near this beautiful park, Zilker Park, if you're from the area, and there's a Barton Springs pool, which is actually, it's like part of a river, but they've dammed it on two ends. So just part of the river is just a pool now. So we've gone there. We've gone to the botanical gardens in that same huge park, and it's just so beautiful. And Austin has such personality.
Yep.
It just does. So
yeah,
I'm loving it. It's fun to see.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's fun for kids to experience.
Yeah, and you guys drove.
Oh, yeah, we drove.
Yeah. Did that not go well?
I actually started getting sick on the very first day driving down. And then Sean started, he was on the edge of a migraine almost the whole way down. No. So we were not totally enjoying our trip like normally. We usually enjoy road trips, but not this one.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know, and I feel like you probably have noticed this too. I'm sure every parent has. As soon as you are not in a good state of mind, your kids are so intuitive. I feel like they just pick it up, and they were just kind of off too.
Yeah, that was me yesterday.
Really,
so me and then the kids. Yeah, so I get that.
Yeah, so they really take their cues, I think, from their parents, and especially highly sensitive kids. Which I'm finding I definitely have a few. And one is really standing out on this trip.
Oh,
for sure. And so this kid is just picking up on all of my stress from being sick and, everything, Yeah. So I feel like today is our 4th day here, and we're finally kind of mellowing out. Yeah. Everybody's kind of chilling out finally.
Yeah. And then you need to leave.
And then we need to leave
soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm loving Airbnbs though. You've used a lot of Airbnbs.
We haven't actually done Airbnb. We've done VRBO.
Oh yeah,
they're pretty much the same.
They are similar. Yeah.
They're similar. Yeah. I love staying in VRBOs when we travel.
So nice.
Because it's just, especially when you have kids. It's great to be able to spread out and actually be a part of the community.
Yeah.
Walk to places or go to a park or whatever, versus like being in a hotel.
Exactly. And this place was actually cheaper than staying at a hotel in downtown Austin. Oh, yeah. So, and it's a whole house, and the neighborhood's full of kids, and they run through the yard, and the kids are just loving it.
That's so exciting. Yeah. And they had like a bunch of books.
They have all of our favorite books here, which I was more excited about than the kids.
Yep.
And they're musicians.
Oh.
So this guy who owns this house he's like records. I know. So there's a piano to play, and it's just, I want to be friends with this family.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. All right, should we move on to our main topic today? All right. So we had planned a different topic for today, and we pushed that off in favor of this other topic. We're scrapping it. I mean, we're going to probably get to it in a few weeks or something. But this other topic sort of came to us because of what we're seeing in real life with ourselves or friends. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing online.
Mm-hmm. A lot online. Just our homeschool groups and such. Yep.
So we felt we needed to stage an intervention.
We did.
which is the title. And we're mostly probably talking about ourselves here. But
absolutely. It is self-talk for sure.
It's self-talk. It is. We need this.
It is. I need to hear this every day. So I also feel very strongly that everybody needs to hear it every day. I mean, we all do. So when I hear in Facebook groups about homeschool parents who are not enjoying the beginning of the year, things aren't going well, the kids don't want to start their work or do their work, it's just heartbreaking to me. Because I think the expectations are so different than probably what they need to be right now at the beginning of the year. Yep. And maybe ever. I don't know.
Right. I mean, or sometimes people are saying things like they have a toddler, and so they don't know how to homeschool with the toddler, or their toddler is like wrecking their day, or the baby, or, they're just preventing them from being able to do any work.
Right. So if this is you, this is your episode. Yep. Because you do not want to continue homeschooling like that. Like in such frustration and anger, or feeling like you're failing, or feeling like stressed out all day. You just do not want to live like that.
Right. And homeschool should not be like that. So if it is like that for you, then something should change.
Right.
Because it should be, I know we're all going to have our days, okay? Mm-hmm. But it should mirror life, where most of the time it's pretty much going well, and you have some hard days. But if it's like always not going well, or if there are tears from either the kids or yourself often, that's a sign that something needs to change.
Right. And even on the days when it's an off day, like normally every day is going well, and then you have this one day that's not going well, even that can change. Like you can change it then and there and make it better by probably pulling back.
Right.
I think that's just a big thing that we just don't always think of doing, because I think we as homeschool parents feel so much pressure. We are completely responsible for our children's learning, and so we have got to plow through this. And really, no, you don't have to plow through it. That's not the purpose of homeschooling. That's not how your kids are going to learn.
They're not going to, no learning is going to happen when anybody is stressed out.
Right, exactly.
Or anybody is happy. No learning is going to happen during that time.
Exactly.
And so, you're right. You're right. If it's a bad day or, a tough day, pulling back is the answer.
Yeah.
And that's good.
And making connections. Make connections with your kids then, because that's what they probably need more than a lesson right then and there.
Right.
Yep.
So to kind of bring it back to the beginning, if you have just started homeschooling, maybe this is your first year or even your second year or your first little while of homeschooling, really you should start out with the process of deschooling.
Yeah, that's really wise, I think.
Yeah, and Maren, I know we both sort of had a form of this when we first started. And so would you talk a little bit about how that looked in your family?
Sure. In fact,
and if you haven't done it yet, like let's say you've decided to plow ahead, you can pull back and do some deschooling if needed.
It's not too late to deschool.
It's not too late.
And actually, I have to tell you, when I decided to do it this way, I didn't even know what deschooling was. I'd never heard of that before, but I just felt it like it was the right thing to do to kind of, I don't want to say detox. I know I've talked about this on the podcast before. Forgive me. But I don't want to say detox because my kids had a very good experience at school when they were there. So it's not like it was a toxic environment and they're detoxing from that. But I think we are detoxing in our busyness, in our schedules. We were detoxing from this kind of top-down environment where it was kind of like we tell you what to do, then you do it.
Yep.
And I don't think that was necessarily just the school. It was that's just kind of, that's culture, kind of, that's our culture right now. And so we kind of had to detox from just the culture of mainstream culture. So my goal at the very beginning of the school year last year, when we started homeschooling full time, was to make the year a positive experience. And that included growing closer together as a family, growing relationships within our family, between individual siblings, between me and each individual child, to grow a calmer, more balanced and a happier family and kids. And so that was my goal for next year. Because if you can just do that, then you have it made. Your kids are going to succeed in life so much more if they have that under their belt. So I figured if that's all we do this year, I am doing such a service to my kids.
Yes.
And then another reason why I wanted to do that was just to have that goal was I wanted to see what would happen academically for my kids if they were, in a more calm and happy state more of the time. Right. They weren't always like that, but, probably more of the time they were. Because then every time, I would maybe start a lesson or do something, and if it wasn't going well, I would absolutely stop and we would move on to something else or do something else. And so I just kind of took cues from them as to what was going to work for them in, their personality, in their maturity, in their interest level. I took all those things into account kind of and just decided what's going to be good for them to learn this year.
Yep.
And I just figured we can always catch up next year. If we don't do anything academically this year, we'll just catch up when we need to. And I learned so much about my kids, about how they learn. Yeah. And I think it's a challenge to do that because it's a lot easier to teach the way you learn, and your teaching style and your learning style.
Or the way you were taught.
Well, that's true.
It's what you're used to. Whatever you're used to.
What you know.
It's easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So, it's easier to just, turn off your brain kind of and buy a curriculum and just go through it.
Yep.
But that's just not how kids learn. It's just not.
Yep.
Kids don't learn like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we did something similar. Yeah. We sort of deschooled by accident. Like you, I didn't really know of that term. I mean, I had heard of it, but I didn't really know that's what I was doing. We also went to this part-time homeschool. And in January, it's almost been 2 years now, so like a year and a half ago, we traveled with my husband. And I thought, for this second half of the year, we're just gonna like have fun, learn as a family, do a lot of reading, do a lot of playing, things like that. And then we'll just catch up next year when we go back to school. It's not a big deal. And we're going to just take advantage of this time together. And so that's what we did for like 4 or 5 months. And it was great. And then when we started, we decided to homeschool full time. Right. So then we started homeschooling full time. I felt like because we had that period of like you said, kind of detoxing, although I don't think that's the right word. Yeah. But getting back to the basics, then we were ready to start something just a little bit more formal.
Right.
My kids were ready for more, and my kids have been ready for more as time progresses.
Right.
Each of them individually at different stages have been ready for more. So I'm kind of like leaving it up to them a little bit to let me know when they are ready for more, rather than me telling them. Like if I came in and said, we're doing all these things, then they would have to say, oh no, wait, I'm not ready. And then we'd have to pull back. And that has happened. That has happened. That has happened this year too. Yep. Which is why we're doing this. Right. Because this is for me. This is a message that I need to hear.
Exactly.
But that way is like less respectful, it doesn't work as well as if things are just going along smoothly and then they're letting me know when they're ready for more, and then we're just slowly adding in more.
Right. It's very empowering to a child. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're completely in control of everything in your life. That's not how it is. The kids are not in control of your family, which I think is sometimes a perception. Yeah. And I don't think that is just not the case at all. It's more just like, I want to be respectful to my children, and I want to have an ideal environment for them to learn. And that's what it is. That's what happens with deschooling, I think. When I decided to do that, when I pulled back, I just saw, my children played so much. And it was really magical. And I sometimes would get frustrated with the playing because we weren't on, the schedule I had in my mind kind of what we were going to do homeschooling wise. And I would start to get stressed out. This was all on me too, because my kids were totally happy. And I would start to get, stressed out, like, oh my goodness, we're never going to get through anything. And it wasn't really until, so I knew it was good, obviously. I knew it was good what we were doing. But it was just this inner struggle. And it wasn't really until after Christmas, it was probably January or February, that I finally, something turned on in me, and my eyes opened to the value of what was going on here. And I realized this playing is the learning. And our experiences together are the learning. The read-alouds that we're reading and talking about all day, that is so much learning. The chores that my kids are doing is just so priceless that I just decided I can't go back, really. I can do some things now, and I feel like because we deschooled, we can add things like you did gradually because my kids want them now. Yeah. But we'll never go back to where I'm like, we are doing this and it's happening all year no matter what. Yeah. It's just, we're never going to do that. We can't. Yeah. We can't do it anymore. Now because I've seen what happens.
Right. Yeah, it is. I think it's just really hard, and for you and I too, and we're actively working on this to get rid of that traditional school mentality. This is not to put down traditional schools at all, but I just feel like we're doing something different. I think I said this last week. We've made this decision to do something different,
exactly.
and for a reason. And so, I think it's just very hard though, because I've had a lot of years. I've had 40 years in this system, you know, of this is the way you do it. This is the way it's done.
Yeah.
And if you want to produce kids who are smart or who can get a job or who can like do well in life, you know, they need to know this much math in third grade. Or they need to know, like, they need to be reading these kind of books by this age or whatever. And, or are you doing, you know, a health curriculum, or what are you doing for science?
Right.
And so it is very hard to let go of that. And I am actively working on it, but it's just, that's a challenge.
And it's a good challenge though. It's better than the other way where, so I feel like you're either working at, you know, doing the right things that you know that are good for your family, or you're like trying to pick up the mess of, you know, doing things in maybe not the best way for your kids, and you're dealing with some, you know, some consequences, so maybe some unhealthy things that are happening. So it is a very conscious decision for me every single day to be working hard at doing this kind of deschooling or whatever you want to call it, but
letting them learn. You're working hard at letting them learn in the way that you know is best for them and the way that they intuitively know is best for them.
Right. So here's the thing. It is hard work, but it's mostly in your mind. Like just making the decision. It is hard work. It sometimes looks like you're being lazy.
Oh, we need to strike that L word from our vocabulary.
You need to. We need to.
Yes. I'm guilty of saying lazy too. And that is, I do not like hearing that because I do not know any mom who is lazy. I've never met a lazy mom or dad. I've never met anybody lazy.
No. You can't be a lazy mom. It's not possible.
So don't say you're lazy. Say like you're doing one thing in favor of another, or you've decided not to do one thing because this priority is better or whatever, but you're not lazy.
Well, I think setting boundaries is so important. And sometimes it looks to people like you're not working that hard, but really it's a very conscious decision. So we really do less academics probably than a lot of other people. I feel like my kids get plenty though. They still get plenty of even just the academics, like traditional academic learning. They get plenty of it. Even though we don't do a ton. They get as much as their mind is like ready for right now. So great.
Right. Because you could be cramming that stuff in.
Yeah.
To like your 8-year-old, for example.
Yeah.
You could be cramming stuff in, but they wouldn't be it wouldn't be like resonating or connecting.
It all just like rushes past a person who's not ready to hear it.
Yes.
It all just rushes past. So you might as well just wait until it's time.
Right.
Until they're ready.
Right. So, after you've deschooled, and if you haven't deschooled, I mean, that's fine too, and maybe you started homeschooling from the beginning, and so you didn't have to do that, although we're probably still always fighting those expectations, in our minds. But after that, I think it's real important at the beginning of the year to ease in.
It is.
And this is the message I need to hear right now.
Yep.
Because I knew this. Like, I know this. I know easing in is important. And even though I know this, and even though I'm conscious of it, still, I can try and cram too much into one day.
Yeah.
Which then makes us stressed out.
I know. Still.
Do you do that?
I do. I totally.
I don't picture you doing that.
Well, I do. I do in my mind. I often have a lot of things that I want to get done, and then it gets smaller. This mental list
as the day goes
on.
on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So whether that's number of days that you're gonna be quote unquote homeschooling, or I'll just call it like doing academics, or maybe that's number of subjects.
Yeah.
But you really need to take it slowly. And I don't just mean like, by day 3 or by week 2, you're back in full swing. I mean, like, take a month to ease in to the schedule.
I think we have to like be specific about that for some people, because it's like, it's easy to say, okay, just ease off of something for a while. And then they'll be like, well, after a day or two, that just feels weird. I have to get back into it again.
Yeah.
But that might not be enough. Probably isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Even last night, I was making my schedule on the whiteboard for the next day, which is just, it's not really even a schedule. That sounds more detailed than it is. I'm not that detailed. For me, I write down a couple things we want to do. And I had a list of a couple things. And I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit that in. Oh, you probably can. If you just work hard and start at this time.
Yes.
And, I was telling myself these in my head. Yep, you can do it. And then I remembered like what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I know.
And how I'm staging an intervention on myself.
You better do it right.
And I was like, oh, no. Erase a couple of those things.
Good for you.
Angela, erase a couple things. And you know what? Today went much better than if I had tried to cram things in.
Good.
Just for who? For who?
Yeah, who am
I cramming these things in for?
I know.
I don't know.
I know. And see, here's the thing, too. Do you ever sometimes think, well, I got to take this test at the end of the year?
Oh.
Sometimes I think that. Sometimes I think that, but I also think, aren't my kids always do super well on those tests?
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we have an easy test. They do a sort of, we do like the easiest one they can do.
Yeah.
We have a choice, and I picked like the easiest one. So anyway, but I also feel like if I don't do anything all year, they're going to be fine on the test. Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. If my kids could do fine at the end of last year, we did so little last year.
Right. That's how I felt after deschooling, too, when I'm calling it that now. Yeah. I'm retroactively calling it that deschooling. When we took that half a year off, I was a little nervous to have them take that test at the end of the year. And then when I saw they did fine, I was like, so great. That was great.
I'm going to keep doing this. That's what I thought, too, at the end of last year.
I don't want to give people the impression that we're not going to do anything, but I also feel like once they get to junior high or maybe high school, then they're going to be ready for some of those more complex things that we're trying to cram into their brains at third or fourth grade.
And the thing is, those tests that they take, even the ones for the homeschoolers, they're so you really don't have a lot of control. You really don't have control over how they're going to do that day. Yeah. One of my kids was kind of sick on that day, so did not as well. Yeah. And I thought, normally this child would, have done so much better. And I was like, see? It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't
and
matter.
then I remember, listening to, it was a verbal test, so I heard the administrator of the test ask questions. And there was something about, I remember it was about, what are trees made out of or something.
Oh.
And I was like, how?
What is that? I don't even know. What do you answer?
Or no, sorry. What is paper made out of? And it was the answer was trees. And some of my kids said water, which I think is true. It's a lot of water.
Yeah.
And the answer was trees. So they got that all wrong. And I was like, see, the questions they ask, how are you supposed to know to teach that? You don't know. Yeah. You don't know. You don't know what to teach.
And how are you supposed to know what the right answer is?
Exactly.
It is water, too.
Right, exactly. So if you're teaching just, for them to pass the test or whatever, that is it's not a good reason. Yeah. That's my whole point.
Yep.
If you have a great experience this year, your kids are going to do better on that test.
Well, and one of my goals for my kids, my main goal for my kids is that they love learning. Mm-hmm. That is the goal. I want them to love learning and to, when they're an adult, be so interested in life and different topics that they are motivated to want to learn more about it.
Right.
And so if I'm trying to, get through the curriculum or cram things down their throat or whatever it is, they're not going to enjoy learning. They're going to see learning as not fun.
Right.
And think about, I'm just going to use me as an example, or my husband or whatever. We think, it takes a while to get to a certain age to be like, actually, learning about these things is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Exactly. My husband was watching a show on PBS the other night, and it was about some ship that sank, and they just recovered it or found it or whatever. He was super interested in it. He told me all about it. But he is the guy who would have said, like, history or social studies was awful in school. Like, he doesn't like, he's not interested in it.
Exactly.
That's what he tells himself about that.
So I think what happened, go ahead.
It just takes a while for us to realize, oh, no, wait, learning is fun. And I want my kids to not have those 20 years of thinking they don't really like to learn, but of being creative and interested in the world.
So I think that took us probably 20 years to get over that the way we were taught. And, like, to figure out how we like to learn. So what I would love is for our kids to figure out how they like to learn now. And I think by deschooling for that amount of time, it was so good for us because our kids naturally kind of fell into patterns on their own about how they like to learn. Look up things online or go to the library.
Listen to a book.
Listen to audiobooks, podcasts, have great discussions with other people who are interested in it, or, you know, build things with what they know, like build something out of it, or, you know, like that, all that kind of stuff only happens when there's time and space to do all that. And then I think what also happened during that deschooling period, and even is happening even stronger now, I have to say, is, well, at least my oldest child, she is 10. She is asking for work. Yeah. And this is the child who, like, honestly was my number one reason for homeschooling, because, like, it just wasn't, it was just not an optimal experience for her. School wasn't. And so deschooling was so great for her specifically, because she really is a self-learner. Like, it's very difficult to decide what she's going to learn. And a lot of kids are very complacent with it and being like, okay, we will just learn whatever whatever is placed in front of us. She's not like that. Yeah. And so she's asking for work and she wants to learn all the time now. Yeah.
My oldest is like that too. Yeah. She wants more. She's asking for more, which I think is the better problem to have.
It's a much better problem.
To be too stressed out and not enjoying it or needing much less.
I think it's our dream. I do. I mean, I think it's a dream as a homeschool parent for your child to ask for more work. Yeah. Or not even to ask for more work, but to figure out what they want to do themselves. Yeah. Like how they're going to do it. And...
Yeah, it's not necessarily I want more work, but, like, I'm so interested in all these things and I want, like, help figuring out projects or...
I am ready for all of this learning. I'm ready for it.
Yes. Yes.
And they know it. Yeah. So exciting. And then that also tells me too that my other kids who are not doing that, I don't have to worry about that. Because if they're not at that level, then they're not at that level. They're not ready.
Yeah. They might get there someday.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also wanted to say that if you specifically, because I know people will ask, specifics about certain ages or what exactly are you doing during the day or how much should they be doing, and that's not something we can specifically answer, but I do want to say that if you have a child who is younger elementary age and they seem to be wanting to do more playing than anything else, that's developmentally normal and that's great, and that is how they are learning in that moment. Right. And if they are resisting the academics, and by academics I mean like sitting on a chair and doing work, if they're resisting that, that's developmentally normal.
It is. And your kids can learn a lot of character building without sitting in a chair. So I think sometimes we think, well, my kids need to learn how to be persistent and work when they don't like something. Even when they don't like it. And so, but there are other ways to do that.
Yeah, so, like chores.
Exactly. Yep. I was just going to say chores. It's a perfect
one. Or, there's lots of ways they could do that. But I see a lot of parents worried about their younger elementary child.
Yeah. And if they're not maybe doing, second grade material, when they're in second grade, that can be very concerning for someone, for a parent. But I just want to encourage you as a teacher and now a parent. And I just feel like I always want to make sure you understand that I'm right there with you. I understand. But also I've done a lot of research in my years of being a teacher, and I have my master's degree, and everything I've learned. Kids learn when they're ready. Kids learn when they are ready. So a state cannot tell you when your child is ready to learn multiplication. I mean, it's just, they need that for their own system, and that's fine. But we cannot hold our kids to those standards all the time. We just can't.
Yeah, well, you can, but you won't be successful.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe
that's when you're gonna have tears or problems or whatever.
You might, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and your kids might be way beyond that. They might be ready for something way beyond that, and that's so great too. But I'm just saying, like, it's okay if they're not, showing the standards that like a state is telling you they should be at right now.
Right.
Because your child is your child. That is she or he is like their own person.
Yeah,
and they are probably learning a lot more by playing as a younger elementary student.
Or even older.
Student. It's so true. I mean, experience really is such a good teacher.
Yep.
So,
Maren, I want to know, because I know people are going to ask, and I'm actually curious, so given all of this, like, what would a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so it's probably good to talk about, because we talk about lots of big ideas,
Yeah, it's good to talk specifics.
It's good to talk specifics, so you know what we're talking about. So usually we get up around 8 o'clock.
Okay.
We have breakfast, get dressed, and we do our chores. That's really easy to say, but man.
That's a big deal.
That's a lot to do in an hour.
Yeah.
A lot of my kids are up before that, but if they're not up by 8, then they get up at 8. And then 9 o'clock we'll ideally be doing read aloud in the living room. And that's just a good time to come together as a family and do something, have a positive experience right away in the morning.
Okay.
And then after that, I don't know how long that's going to take. Maybe a half hour, an hour. That might end at like 9:30, 9:45 maybe. And then my 3 younger kids who are 8, and 6 definitely need a break by that point. They are ready to go do something else. So often my 2 younger girls will just go play on their own dolls. Pretend they'll go, build a store. That's the kind of their new thing, or a restaurant, or they'll cook something, anything. And my son will often do something with blocks or Legos, or he will sometimes go and work on math on the computer. Because he just likes to do that. But then I'll pull my oldest daughter aside. We'll go into the kitchen and work on something. It might be a spelling thing. It might be a math thing. But honestly, we do not spend a lot of time sitting down at a table working. So maybe I would say at the most a half an hour, 30 minutes. And so that's probably until like 10:15. 10:15, I will pull maybe the 8-year-olds in, and we'll do a short lesson together too.
Okay.
And because my 6-year-old wants to do things now, she's like asking because everybody else is doing work. She really wants to do homework. So I got something for her, honestly, from the Target dollar section. It's like an adding book, and so she does that, and she also does a page out of Explode the Code, which is like a phonics book. It's so simple. It's just very simple. So she'll work for like maybe 15 minutes. The 8-year-olds work for like maybe 20 minutes, and then we are done by like 10:45, and we're playing games. The kids will probably need to do the Prodigy, which is our math on the computer. They'll listen to audiobooks. They'll most likely be playing a lot together. They'll be outside. It's very important that they go outside. That's like one of my requirements every day.
Yep.
and we'll have lunch, clean up after lunch. I like to have deer time in the afternoon, but it doesn't always happen. At deer time is drop everything and read. So I like that, but honestly, that does not happen every day.
Yep.
My oldest daughter will always read every day, just on her own now, which is just amazing. If you knew her story, that is amazing. That's all because of deschooling too, I have to tell you. That she loves reading now. So she will read no matter what. And the other three will not read on their own. They won't read on their own if they don't have to.
Yeah.
Yep. So we will hopefully do deer time. We'll clean up and play a little more or something. Or we might play like a learning game together. We might play Monopoly, for example. Yep. Maybe. I don't know. And then we have screen time for like an hour.
Yep.
Where they get to do anything they want to. I mean, they can, well, not anything, but, you know, within reason. They can watch the shows they want to watch, play the games they want to play for an hour every day in the afternoon. Yeah. So, and great. Because for my own sanity, that's what I know I need.
Good for you.
Yep.
And then you're done, basically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I am pretty much done before lunch. By lunch, at least.
Yeah.
So anything after lunch has to be kind of on autopilot.
Yeah.
For me, because I really, I'm so done. How about you, Angela?
Ours is similar but different. Mm-hmm. We've been getting up at 8. That is going to move to 7:30. I've said this before. My husband is really into getting up early. Mm-hmm. He thinks everybody needs to get up early, and so we are doing that. Mm-hmm. So right now it's 8, but it will be 7:30. And we start right away with read aloud because my kids are tired and they just want to lay around. Mm-hmm. And so I just read on the couch. And that's when I do, like, we're usually reading some novel.
Yeah.
And then sometimes a picture book, which is usually, like, has some history in it.
Right.
Usually that I've checked out from the library. And then this year we're doing a history book. And I just read, like, a chapter or a little bit of that, too.
Yeah, great.
So that takes about an hour. Now, okay, that's ideal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's fighting, and then I have to stop early. Like, fighting over a spot on the couch, or a blanket, or something like that, and I get upset. Or sometimes we don't get started right away at 8, for whatever reason, and then it's cut short.
There's so many reasons why it wouldn't happen. I know.
Yeah. And sometimes it goes longer. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just we're really flexible.
Yeah.
During that time too, once my kids have woken up, they will move to the floor and start playing. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like building blocks, or my girls are into pot holders now.
That's so great.
Making pot
awesome.
holders. Yeah. Or like we have little 1-person games that they play.
Right.
So anyway, after that, we move on to like getting all their morning stuff done and chores. Mm-hmm. So they each have a chore every day, and then they each have to get dressed, brush their teeth, and all that stuff. Make themselves breakfast. I mean, okay, ideally that's done by like 9:45. It has not happened yet this year. Yeah. Because I'm giving myself lots of grace. Like I said, we're only a couple weeks in, and that's fine. So sometimes it's 10:30, sometimes it's 11 or whatever when we're finished with that. But like you said, I feel like after that is a huge chunk. I mean, we read aloud and did chores, and they got themselves already, made themselves breakfast. I mean, if that's all we did in a day, I feel like it's a success.
You have to call it a success. You have to.
Yeah, I feel like I want to get that stuff done first because it's the most important. Mm-hmm. And then usually I bring my kids to the table for something.
Yeah.
It might be writing. It's usually either writing or our Logic of English curriculum. And that is a max of about a half an hour. You know, sometimes we're doing a free...
All three of your kids are together doing that?
All 3 of my kids are together, but they're not always working on the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
So, but they're all sitting down together. That's like when they sit down at the table.
Okay.
And do something out of a workbook, or we're doing something together. So, you know, like today, for example, my son did something different than my daughters. They did something together. Mm-hmm. So it's usually like one writing exercise, one Logic of English exercise, something like that.
Sure.
Then when we're done with that, I mean, if we did all that, I'm really excited about the day.
They're on their own.
They basically, they have kind of a couple things they should do on their own. It's usually math. Mm-hmm. They all do math on their own on the computer. And Spanish, they do the Duolingo app on their own. And then my older daughter has some projects that she wants to work on individually, so she's working on those too. That's part of her day. My middle daughter has some certain things she loves to bake. So every day she's like, "Can I bake?
Yeah.
Please, can I bake?" That's her thing. She wants to do that. And so I like to try and let her do that at some point. Like you, I like to have a deer time in the afternoon. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Right. I like to have a rest time. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't. But I need to get better at that for me, because the day can slide away from me and I could be like answering their questions all day, or cleaning up the kitchen, or doing like things for other, I don't know. Yeah. Making phone calls or whatever all afternoon long. And before I know it, it's 5:00. And so I need to make sure that I get that rest time for me. Absolutely. So that is one goal of mine, is to get better at that. So,
oh my goodness.
So anyways, so we don't do a lot of like teacher directed sitting down and doing the work kind of work.
And the thing is with this, I know this is getting long. I feel like we could talk about this for hours.
We thought this was I thought this was going to be a short episode.
I know, but I
was like, this might be shorter than normal. It's not.
I know, but this is obviously really important to us.
Yeah.
I think because it looks like we're not doing much academics, it looks like our kids aren't learning anything, but I have to tell you, my kids learned so much last year with this schedule. I mean, beyond my imagination. And, you know, we include so many things. We do history, writing, reading, phonics. I mean, all the academic science, math, all of it gets in probably every single day, but it's just not in that like half hour of direct teaching that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Often it's in their own like experiments that they're doing, or
right.
I mean, just so much happens. And when it's on your radar to be looking out for those things, you will find it in so much of what they're doing all day long.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true. Because once you look for it, it's there.
Yeah. And I used to feel like I was cheating when I was like, oh, my kids are writing a note to each other. Writing. Check. Yeah, I thought I was cheating.
I'm cheating. Yeah, because I didn't do anything, but they actually wrote.
They actually wrote something, so I'm counting it as writing. Guess what? That is real writing. And it's better than a lesson you could have taught.
It's better than what you could have assigned them.
Way better.
Yes.
And when you're talking and when you are counting money for your allowance, it's way better than a workbook page with pictures of quarters. I mean, it's just so much better.
Definitely. Yep.
So count it.
Yeah.
Don't let that slip by and feel like you're not doing anything. They need to know that those activities are valuable. The kids need to know that. We need to know that.
Yep.
So. Yep. So good.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Should we move on to loving this week, Angela?
Yes, let's do that.
All right. LTW, what are you loving?
Well, I am loving the Humans of New York video series on Facebook. Have you seen that?
No. I mean, I follow them. I haven't seen any videos, though.
Yeah, Humans of New York, if you're unfamiliar, it is Brandon Stanton. He's like, Stanton? Is that how you say his name? I don't know how to say his last name.
I don't know.
Okay, well, Brandon. Okay. We'll just call him Brandon. Yep. If you go to Humans of New York, you'll find him. He's a photographer, and he just takes pictures of people. He started out in New York, takes pictures of people, and he must ask them great questions because they open up about their stories. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's profound, sometimes it's minor or whatever. And then so he puts a picture of them and then a quote or a paragraph of something that they've said. And it's very moving. Yeah. So if you don't follow them on Facebook, you should.
And sometimes it's just so ordinary. Just an ordinary thing that they say, but it's just beautiful.
Yes. And then he not only does it in New York, but he's been all over the world doing the same thing all over the world. Yep. And anyways, now he has a video series, and we watched it as a family. It was such a great thing to watch as a family. It was like 20 minutes long, where it was kind of the same thing as what he does with his photographs, but he just had a video camera, and he just videos people talking about their story, or some, not their whole story, but like an aspect of them. And, you know, each person talks for maybe like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, then he moves on to the next person, and there's no commentary at all. Wow. All it is the people talking. It was so powerful. I cannot speak highly enough of it. It was a great family watch. Now, my kids are 8, 10, and 12. It was great for them. I would be a little hesitant maybe with a younger child, because, I mean, it's really probably for adults.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, adults love this, but, I mean, my kids also loved it. So
my kids are now, well, at least my 10-year-old is really into, like, anything that's for adults now. Like, she's, I mean, if it's for kids, she's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, she's over that. I get it. Yeah, and we're always looking for good family things to watch together, because we like to watch things together, and this was only 20 minutes, and it's like a series, so we watched episode 1.
Oh, is this on Facebook?
Yeah, I think you have to watch it on Facebook. That's how we watched it.
On Facebook. Okay, this is so interesting.
I think there might be 3 or 4 out now, and we only watched the first one. Okay. So he just started releasing them, and they're really good. Yeah. I recommend them. Yeah. Good. How about you, Maren? What are you loving this week?
I'm loving this week Whole Foods. Oh. Which I know you all know about Whole Foods, but I have to tell you, Whole Foods is so awesome. Has been so awesome on our trip. Not only did it start in Austin, so we got to go to the very first store, which was really exciting, but Whole Foods has helped us out on this whole trip. So when I started not feeling well, I started thinking, like, where am I going to find... I mean, I know I can take any medicine from anywhere, but I was like, oh, I want my, like, the stuff that I have from home, like elderberry syrup and fire cider, and I thought maybe Whole Foods would have that kind of stuff. Yep. And they did. Well, they had, like, a version of it anyway. And I was just it made me feel like I had a little bit of home with me. You know, I didn't bring that stuff with me, but it felt so good to have that. And then, you know, when we're traveling, we always try to eat, like, not fast food. We just try not to eat fast food if we can help it. But sometimes it's inevitable when you're in these little towns or whatever, and it's just, you're driving through little towns. There's nothing else, really. Yep. So I, on the way down, like, would find the nearest Whole Foods, and we'd go there, and they have, like, a restaurant in Whole Foods. Yeah. And it's so great. And I was thinking...
So you did that on the way down?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Smart.
Because it's really hard to find healthy food to eat when you're traveling. Yeah. It just is. Yeah. And, not all of it was, like, super healthy, but it's Whole Foods, so it's, like, at least, it's probably good ingredients, better ingredients. My kids still had, a pizza from their, whatever. They had slices of pizza or whatever, but I just knew it wasn't, like the worst kind of pizza you could get. It was at least, so there was probably something good in there. And they have this just amazing salad bars always. I love the salad bars. And they have chicken and they have lots of meat. And I had, like, a curry meal and it was so great. And when we came here to Austin, we went to the Whole Foods near our place, and they just had, like, all the kombucha from the local Austin area, all this new kind of kombucha, and I was like, oh, yay, I'm so excited. And then they had music playing outside, and they just, like, they know how to do it. Yeah.
And what I thought you were going to say is that Amazon bought Whole Foods. Yes. You heard that. Yeah. So have you noticed lower prices?
I haven't, well, maybe on a few things. Yeah. Yeah. But not on a large scale, really, yet.
It's still expensive.
How are you feeling about that merger? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I want to be more socially conscious. Yeah. But I love Amazon. So. Yeah.
I think it might actually help them, because I think Whole Foods has such a good thing, and yet I think Amazon's going to bring it to so many more people, and prices are going to get cheaper. So, because they know they can just do that.
Yeah. I do love our local co-ops, though. Minnesota has good co-ops, which I know not a lot of other states have, but food co-ops where you can get local food from local farmers.
I know. You want to support them too.
That's always my first choice, but Instacart has, will deliver Whole Foods, so
it's pretty life-changing.
It really comes down to what's easiest for me. So that's what I do.
Well, we can do both.
Yeah.
We can do both.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening and for sitting in on our personal self-intervention.
Yes. It really was.
We will, I'm sure, keep talking about this because it's going to be something that we need to keep reminding of ourselves of as the year goes on.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear how you do this for yourself. How do you simplify if you have deschooled? Maybe share some of your insights and tips in our group.
Yes, we would love to hear that.
We really would.
You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. We are at Homeschool Unrefined. And we are also, our episodes are now in Facebook, which they have been for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So if you know somebody who doesn't know how to listen to podcasts but would like to listen, that is a great way to share with them. You can also share our website, which is homeschoolunrefined.com. And there you can find our show notes, or you can find our show notes in the app. So we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Homeschool Unrefined was created by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Thanks to Gambler's Daughter for providing the music for our show. You can find Gambler's Daughter at facebook.com/gamblersdaugghtermusic.